We're going to introduce our new series today, and it is called Understanding Your Offer. This was a promise I made a couple months ago, and some of you have been kind enough to send me in some actual contracts, and I want to break them down over the next few weeks to really talk about some good ones, some bad ones, no judgment here, but I want you guys to take some of the things that we've been teaching you and start to put them to use in a practical manner, which means when you get an offer from a company, I want you to start to question everything, as you should. Understanding an offer is your magic bullet. And it's what allows you to be a lot more competitive. It gives you that added advantage that other travelers don't have, so you can compare multiple offers and also multiple companies. So I know I'm going to make a few companies nervous. I don't care. That's part of the industry and it's part of what we're doing. It's not so much about pay rate and how much money you're making today. It's really about what you're not seeing, what you're not thinking about. Again, going back to some of the interviews that I've done with some of the people, explaining transparency, there are things that you don't think about with an offer that you need to understand. So I did have one of our recruiters print out a copy of an actual offer. So I want to point out just a few things here. I blocked out the company's name. I blocked out the facility's name. This company is a cath lab position. This company is offering $20 per hour taxable. You don't have to get quite in there that much. $20 per hour taxable, which we'll talk about. There's some other brief things. There's a $4 an hour on call. They're offering $55 an hour for callback, holiday, kind of like that. Per diem, they're offering $354 per week per diem. It is maxed out. That's all you can make based upon either 36 or 40. In this case, it's 40. They mentioned holidays. Again, they've gone through and been very deliberate about exactly what you're being offered as far as your holiday, what holidays are included. Down here, they're giving a mileage of up to $400 based upon 50 cents a mile, so they have a max on that. We'll talk about that in a second. A couple other things they're talking about. This company does not provide any housing, so the only option they have is that they give you an $865 per week per diem. So we'll talk about that. A couple other things contractually, you can't work for another company at that facility for up to a year. So we'll talk about all those things. So again, don't want to get too detailed on that. I've written down exactly what they made, what the offer actually is. And now that you guys have the power that we've taught you, we can start to break this stuff down into an hourly rate. So clearly, $20 an hour. This is, of course, your taxable wages. That's what they're basically telling you guys. This is what they're going to tax you on, $20 an hour. So you obviously need to break this down hourly. We'll just leave that at 20. I'll just do it this way. That's $20 an hour. What they're also offering, as you saw in the contract, is an additional $354 per week. And this is going to be your tax-free part of your hourly compensation. Don't confuse stipend. These are both, people confuse both these things as one stipend. I like the fact this company did break them out into two different tax-free categories. This one represents the tax-free portion of your hourly rate, which in this case, if you take 354 divided by 40 hours a week, is $8.85 per hour. Okay? I'm about to put the dollar signs up, you guys get that. This is, in fact, your total hourly compensation, $28.85 per hour. Now, for a cath lab RN, again, I said I wasn't going to question it. This is pretty low. Obviously, depends on this happens. This assignment happens to be in our state of Colorado. This is not, I repeat, not our contract. They've gone ahead and offered quite a substantial housing stipend. $865 per week. Again, if you break that down by $40 an hour, that's $21.60 an hour. That's substantial. I'm going to question that a little bit. I know our state of Colorado, and actually where this facility is located, is not a high cost of living. We're not talking about Aspen or Vail or even Denver, so I'll share that much with you. The first concern I have if I'm a traveler, is how come so much of, we got $20 an hour tax-free and almost $30 an hour between these two. I'm sorry, I did it backwards. $20 an hour taxable and almost $30 an hour tax-free. That's almost the opposite of what you guys should see. This is huge. This is high. If I'm an RN and I'm used to making cath lab RN wages, I'm already concerned about how much this is tax-free, but that's just a judgment call, and that's really not what today's about. But I thought I'd throw that in there because if you're a traveler, you should be concerned about, 2/3, just a huge amount of money being tax-free. This one I'll leave. This one pays up to 70 cents per hour based upon, as you guys know now from us, the total number of 40 hours times 13 weeks is 520. So if you took the maximum divided by 520, the most you're going to make per hour is 70 cents an hour. In Again, if you're coming from Nebraska or New Mexico or from Utah, you're not going to have that big of a travel reimbursement. Let's talk about some of the things that you're not really seeing. This is the true understanding your offer. I do love the fact this company is paying $55 per hour for holiday and overtime. That's significantly, if you do $28.85 and you multiply it, you're not going to come up with $55 an hour. Let's do the math on that. Times 1.5, we're talking about $43.27. So they're really offering a good overtime rate, which tells me this company wants to incentivize you to work more hours. That's great. Here's what I don't like about it. This is gone. By the way, anything over 40 hours, you don't get this. This is very clearly stated in this contract. It's $354 per week max, which means that in this case, anything over 40 hours, you're only going to get that $55 an hour, which doesn't include this $8.85. So you're not going to get the 20, it's $55 an hour. This is a set in stone, this is set in stone. So at the end of the day, you're actually very limited to what you're going to make. Imagine if this was a 36-hour work week, and this is work for those of you that aren't a 40-hour employee, which most of you aren't. Really be careful with this stuff, because it's one thing to start talking about overtime rate, but it's another thing to talk about what happens to that 37th, 38th, 39th, and 40th hour, where this is maxed out. All that person would get would just be that $20 an hour. They're not going to get that $8.85. So basically, you're giving $8.85 per hour to the company. We'll say you're giving it to them, or they're just keeping it, because that's the most important part of this scenario. Is that if you're working on a 36-hour work week, which this contract is not, but it does say, this company says it can be 36 or 40. So watch out for those things. If you're a 36-hour employee, never accept an assignment where this is a fixed amount, like we keep talking about. Because all you're going to get for the hours between 36 and 40 is simply that taxable hourly rate. It's become an industry standard, and it didn't used to be when I got in this industry almost 20 years ago. So I don't like that part of this. This is good, it's solid. I think it's pretty good as far as what they're offering to incentivize, but they're safe. This company's safe. They're going to get their max of 40. They're going to get their overtime. I don't know what this company's going to bill a facility, but I'm going to tell you it's going to probably be a minimum of $10 more per hour than what they're billing for the regular hours. So they're probably at an easy kind of pass-through on that. They're not going to make huge amounts of money. It's not going to increase their margin. But this is a contract I'm going to give it a thumbs down on. We'll start that trend. First of all, honestly, this is a low rate for a cath lab RN. Even if you combine all of those rates together, and I'll do that math for you. We got $28.85, and we've got $21.60. I'm not going to put things in. This is only a $50.54 total compensation. Now again, judgment call. Cath lab RN with housing, there's a lot of money that is staying with this company, I can tell you that. For a cath lab RN, that's a very, very high bill rate, even for an attractive place like Colorado, where oftentimes the supply and demand, going back to some of our old videos, are going to get you so that there's going to be a low amount of demand because there's not that many needs there, and a high supply. This is still kind of low. I don't like the fact that you're maxed out on the tax, that you don't get anything more than that, especially if you are a 36-hour work week person, so be careful with this. This is a low travel, but some companies do that. They're throwing obviously more money here. Two things I really don't care about is the fact that this company doesn't even offer a housing option. Many of you out there like to get your own housing. I realize that housing is the biggest exposure that us agencies have. It's the biggest risk that we have. But if I'm a traveler, I prefer to go to a company that gives me at least that option. This company does not have that option. As far as the non-compete with regard to being a traveler, I'm kind of mixed emotions, and I do understand why. If you put somebody in a facility, you don't want someone else to come in and undershoot you by a buck or two. The same token, I believe that if you're doing a good job for your nurse, a buck or two is not going to get someone away. So I don't really care. If our countries don't say that. We don't say that you can't say that at a facility with somebody else because we don't have that issue, which is a great thing. Most companies don't. Be careful if a company does. But more importantly, and this company did not do this, I want to be fair to them. Stay away from any company that says you can't work for them or for anybody at all for a year. Never sign a non-compete that says you're their employee for up to a year. That's insane. I don't actually know if that's enforceable, but there's a lot of companies out there that have that. So overall, some good things about this contract here. This one is good because it doesn't really apply because the nurse is in fact working 40. If this were a 36-hour work week and it was the same thing, I would absolutely run away from this because the chances of you only working 36 hours a week is very, very slim. And these are sketchy. Again, we talked about it. Go back and look at some of our original videos. Go back into our Facebook page and some of the places that you guys are seeing this, and look for more videos that walk you through what to be careful of. But in this case, I would say this is a pretty substandard offer in general. And my advice for this particular cath lab nurse would be to shop around. I would bet you that there'll be an agency that has that exact same facility that's willing to pay more. But also, as a traveler, be careful of being submitted by multiple companies and then jumping on the one that's the best at the end. Find out at the beginning what company pays the most. Find out what the bill rate is, because we'll tell you. I don't know the bill rate because this isn't my deal. So I don't know what the bill rate was here, but find a company that's going to tell you what the bill rate is, walk you through how much money they're taking, walk you through how much money is going to Uncle Sam, but more importantly, walk you through how much of that is yours. So I know I talked quick on this one. This was kind of just a first knee shot reaction. Send them. You can send them to info@meridianmedicalstaffing.com. I would ask you to go ahead and block out the agency's name. Please block out the facility's name. This is not about beating up a particular company. This is about protecting yourself and arming yourself with some really good information so that you can understand your offer better. Thanks very much, guys. We'll see you next week.